April 20th, 2023. 4 minutes after launch, the most powerful rocket ever built began to spin. Then it tumbled. Then it exploded. 39 engines, 4 years of engineering, $4 billion, gone in a fireball over the Gulf of Mexico. SpaceX called it a rapid unscheduled disassembly. Everyone else called it a disaster. What they didn't call it was the end. Because that explosion was part of the plan. And 11 flights later, that same rocket is scheduled to carry humans to the moon. This is the story of Starship, the rocket that failed, and failed, and failed again, and became the only thing standing between America and the surface of the moon. To understand why Starship matters, you have to understand what it's trying to do, and why every aerospace engineer on Earth said it was impossible. Most rockets are used once. You light the engines, reach orbit, and the hardware falls into the ocean. It is the most expensive way to travel ever invented. A standard rocket flight costs somewhere between $100 million and $500 million for one use. Elon Musk looked at that system in 2012 and said it was insane. His argument was simple. Imagine if every time you flew from New York to London, the airplane was thrown away. No one would fly. The only way to make space affordable, truly affordable, not just marginally cheaper, was full reusability. Both stages, every flight. No one had done it. Not NASA, not Boeing, not the Russians, not the Chinese. The physics are brutal. A rocket that can land itself needs extra fuel to slow down, which means it needs to carry more weight, which means it needs more fuel to get off the ground. A cycle that kills the math before you even start. SpaceX had already cracked the first stage with Falcon 9. The booster lands on a drone ship. You've seen the videos. But that was only stage 1. To truly reuse both halves of a rocket, the booster and the ship, had never been done. Starship was Musk's answer, a 400-foot-tall steel rocket, the biggest ever built, powered by 39 Raptor engines on the booster alone, designed not just to reach orbit, but to come back, be caught by a mechanical tower, and launch again within hours. The plan sounded like science fiction, and for a long time, the results looked like it too. The early Starship prototypes didn't fly to orbit. They were stubby steel cylinders that hopped a few hundred feet, and more often than not, exploded on landing. SN8, SN9, SN10, SN11. One after another. They hit the ground too hard, or flipped wrong, or leaked methane and turned into a fireball. The SpaceX team filmed every one of them, celebrated every one of them. Each explosion taught them something. The computer models couldn't. In May 2021, SN15 finally landed cleanly. The crowd went insane. It felt like a breakthrough. It wasn't. Not yet. The real test was the full vehicle, both stages stacked on top of each other. 400 feet tall, heavier than anything that had ever flown. The first integrated flight test came on April 20th, 2023, and it went badly. From the start, several of the 33 booster engines failed to ignite. The launch pad was destroyed by the exhaust. Concrete chunks were thrown for miles. Then, 4 minutes in, the vehicle began to spin out of control. The flight termination system failed to activate immediately. The rocket tumbled for nearly 40 seconds before finally being destroyed. It was, objectively, a catastrophe. The FAA grounded Starship for 7 months. The internet declared it dead. NASA, which had already awarded SpaceX a $2.9 billion contract. Said nothing publicly. But privately, people were nervous. What happened over the next 18 months was one of the most remarkable engineering sprints in the history of spaceflight. SpaceX rebuilt the launch pad, a steel plate and water deluge system capable of absorbing 700,000 gallons of water during ignition. They rewrote the flight termination software. They fixed engine failures, one by one. They upgraded the heat shield tiles covering the ship's belly, 18,000 of them, each placed by hand. Flight 2, November 2023, got further than Flight 1, then exploded over the Gulf of Mexico. Flight 3, March 2024. The booster broke apart. The ship reached orbital velocity, then communication was lost. On re-entry, Flight 4, June 2024. Both vehicles survived. Both made controlled splashdowns, no explosions. Flight 5, October 2024. The booster flew back to the launch pad and was caught in midair by two giant mechanical arms. A 230-foot-tall rocket coming back from space, caught by a tower. It had never been done before, in anything, ever. The crowd watching the live stream lost their minds. Engineers were crying. Musk, watching from the control room, looked like a man who had just won a war. But there was still a problem, a big one. Here is what most people still don't understand. Starship is not just SpaceX's rocket. It is the only vehicle NASA has contracted to land humans on the moon. NASA paid SpaceX $2.9 billion for this, and there is no backup plan. Without Starship, there's no Artemis landing. Without Starship, there's no lunar base. Without Starship, the entire decade of work collapses into nothing. The mission itself is staggering in complexity. To send Starship to the moon, SpaceX must first launch a fuel depot into Earth orbit, then send up to 15 separate tanker flights to fill it with liquid methane and liquid oxygen, then launch the actual lander, dock with the depot, refuel completely, and only then head toward the moon. 15 separate rocket launches. For one mission, every single one has to work. None of this has ever been tested at scale. Some of it has barely been tested at all. And China is not waiting. Chinese robots have already landed on the far side of the moon, something no other country has ever done. They have returned lunar samples to Earth. Their program is funded, focused, and accelerating. Their astronauts are targeting a lunar landing by 2030. If Starship is ready on time, American boots touch the moon 2 full years before China. If Starship slips by even 18 months, that margin is gone. The south pole of the moon contains water ice, possibly in enormous quantities. Water means oxygen to breathe. Water split into hydrogen and oxygen means rocket fuel. Whoever builds infrastructure there first gains an advantage for everything that comes after. 2 years ago, this rocket destroyed a launch pad and was grounded for 7 months. Today, it is the centerpiece of America's plan to return to the moon, build a permanent base, and eventually send humans to Mars. That is either the most audacious engineering bet in history or the most dangerous assumption NASA has ever made. Possibly both. The rocket exists, the contract exists, the plan exists. Whether the plan survives contact with reality, that is the question no one can answer yet. But somewhere in Boca Chica, Texas right now, they are stacking the next one, and they are not stopping.